So I recently made a video on the channel talking about every team's most disappointing player for the 2025 NBA season. Today, we're going to be doing the opposite of that. We're going to talk about every team's most surprising player in a good way here in 2025. Pretty much every player we're going to talk about, you had some type of expectations going into this year, and they've definitely exceeded those. You're going to look at what they did in 2025. You're going to compare it to what you thought they were going to do in this season, and you're going to take it 100% of the time. So we're going to start off with one of the more surprising players in the 2025 NBA season. We're going to talk about Ty Jerome of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Who would have expected this from Ty Jerome this year? He played just 2 games for the Cavs in 2024. That's all he appeared in. This year, he played in 70 games for the Cavs. He averaged 12.5 points. He averaged 3 assists, shot 43% from 3, 52% from the field, 87% from the free throw line, rarely turned the ball over, and was a godsend for the Cleveland Cavaliers throughout the regular season. If Mitchell missed some time, if Garland missed some time, look no further than Ty Jerome, one of the best backup point guards and bench players in the NBA. At 27 years old, he's going to earn himself so much money in the free agency class of 2025, and I'm really excited to see where he ends up going forward. 6'5", like I said, does not turn the ball over well, is super efficient, one of the better surprises, and I'd be okay if he won Most Improved Player. I think that's the definition of the award. Ain't no stopping Obi Toppin. He's going to be my nominee here for the Indiana Pacers. I thought it was a little bit of a head scratcher when the Indiana Pacers re-signed Obi Toppin this offseason to a 4-year deal coming off a good 2024 season, but they had Jarris Walker in the wings. But Toppin was a really effective bench scorer for this team this year. He's not the best defender in the world, but he's still a crazy good athlete. He can be physical on the glass, and he shot 37% from 3 on 4 attempts a night in just 19 minutes. If you look at Obi's per 36 numbers this year for the Indiana Pacers, it'd be around 20 points and 7.5 rebounds. And I think at 27 years old, he's in the middle of his prime, and he's a really good cost-effective player on this contract, and I think has been a pleasant surprise overall for the Indiana Pacers. For the Milwaukee Bucks, you could go with Kevin Porter Jr., who they added at the deadline, but I'd rather talk about AJ Green, who's turned into a nice 3-point specialist for this team in a full season sample size, as he played 35 games as a rookie in 2023. He played 56 games for the Bucks last year. This year, over 70 games for the Bucks, even started some, and shot 42% from 3 on 5 attempts a night. He's not really going to take a lot of 2s, but at least he's elite at what he does, and that's taking really difficult 3s and knocking him down. And I know he doesn't look like the best defender out there, but AJ Green gives 100% effort every single night and is actually a productive defender this year for the Milwaukee Bucks. He was an undrafted player in the 2022 draft class, and he's just making $2 million this year, and next year, it's been a pleasant surprise for Milwaukee in 2025. Let's talk about some 3-point specialists, but this guy can do a little bit more, and that's Malik Beasley of the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons have been one of the more surprising teams in the NBA this year in a good way, capturing a top 6 seed in the Eastern Conference after being the laughingstock of the NBA in 2024. And I'm not sure they're here if they don't have and sign Malik Beasley in the 2024 offseason. They gave him a 1-year deal. The team I just talked about, the Milwaukee Bucks, didn't want to bring him back, and Malik Beasley used that for some motivation here in year number 9. This year for the Detroit Pistons, he had arguably the best year of his career, 16 points and shot 41% from 3 on 9 attempts a night. He had some really clutch shots and really embraces that bad boy Pistons, that gritty Pistons vibe that they brought back from the 80s over here in 2025. And I'm sure him and the Detroit Pistons are definitely going to work on a long-term extension this offseason. The Chicago Bulls, I think you have to go with Josh Giddy. They traded Alex Caruso for Giddy last offseason, got off to not the best start in the world, but in the second half, Giddy has turned into one of the better playmakers in the NBA and has really finished off his first year in Chicago and his 4th year in the NBA on a really strong note. Over Josh Giddey's final 27 games, he finished with a 14-13 record, 49% from the field, an encouraging 43% from 3 on 4.5 attempts a night, and also averaged 19 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists. It felt like he could be a walking triple-double at any moment after the All-Star break. And Giddy's only 22 years old. I'm sure the Bulls are going to re-sign him this offseason, and I also think he's going to be a great initiator and playmaker for their young wings and bigs they bring in throughout the next few drafts, and I think he's also going to do wonders on Matas Buzelis' development. I'm actually going to go with a rookie for the Utah Jazz. You could definitely talk about Kyle Filipowski, but I'm going to talk about the 29th overall pick, Isaiah Collier, who really impressed me this year with his playmaking ability. At USC, he was the best player on that team with Boogie Ellis, and he was really a score-first guy, but this year, really developed his court vision in Utah, where he averaged a rookie high 6.3 assists, better than anybody from the 2024 draft class. He did struggle at times with his efficiency, but I think if you're the Utah Jazz front office or maybe a fan this year, you got to be happy with his development as a playmaker that you really didn't expect for somebody that was selected with the second to last pick in the first round of the 2024 NBA draft. Expectations really couldn't be much higher when the Denver Nuggets took a chance on Russell Westbrook, who was going to be playing for his 7th team in 8 years. And I know there's been some downs for the Russell Westbrook fans this this year, especially with that loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves, where he missed the layup and then fouled that three-point play that basically lost them the game. But he's still been really productive for what the Nuggets pretty much had to give up for him in the offseason. Russell Westbrook this year is only making $3 million. He does have a $3 million player option he could opt out of next year, but is averaging 13 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, is shooting 45% from the field, and sometimes you can't let Russ be Russ, but I do think when they've had some injuries this year to Jamal Murray, some other players, he has stepped up. He still gives you 100% effort for good and for bad every single night, and I'll take that for basically what they thought he could be going into this year. Unless he was the reason Mike Malone and Calvin Booth got fired, maybe that did more harm than good, but I do think he was a pleasant surprise for Denver in his age 36 season. I always find it funny looking back on that Damian Lillard trade when they finally traded their best player of this generation of Portland Trailblazers basketball, and they got back DeAndre Ayton, they got back Malcolm Brogdon, they got back Robert Williams. Really not exciting players, but hey, they did get back the 52nd overall pick and a throw-in in the Ayton Nurkic part of it. Tamani Kamara, he has definitely turned into one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA this year as a 24-year-old. Yeah, the former 52nd overall pick out of Dayton in that 2023 draft has really blossomed into year 2 of this league. He's averaging 11 points, 6 rebounds, 1.5 steals this year, shot 37% from 3, 46% from the field, and can guard multiple positions, can guard on the perimeter, can guard in the post, can guard off ball, and he's really developed into one of their best long-term assets over there in Portland, and he's going to be a nice wing duo with Denny of Diop going forward. Really struggle to go with anybody on OKC because I think nobody has been too surprising, but I'm going to go with Aaron Wiggins, the man who saved basketball, because I think Aaron Wiggins was always a nice bench scorer for this team over the first 3 years of his career, but this year he really broke out on the scene, and even if Shea or J-Dub was out for a game, he could be somebody that you can rely on to give you 20 points efficiently when he's going from like the number 7 scoring option to a top 2 scoring option on a random night. He finished the season with 11.5 points, up from 7 points last year, and the efficiency was still really good. 48% from the field, 38% from 3 on a career high 4.5 attempts a night, 81% from 3, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, can play good defense under Mark Daigneault's defensive system, and this is just another Sam Presti masterclass. He's under a great contract as well. Also really struggle to go with anybody on the Minnesota Timberwolves because I don't think anybody was too shocking. So I'm actually going to go with Anthony Edwards, basically turning into Steph Curry in 2025. Anthony Edwards, at his freshman year in Georgia in that 2020 season, shot 29% from 3 on 245 attempts. This year, in the year 2025, in year number 5 of the NBA, he has shot 39% from 3 on 10 attempts a night. Yeah, Anthony Edwards let them fly this year, and he's really developed into an elite shooter in this league. He has sacrificed a little bit of his 2-point percentage in that, but he's becoming more efficient with his 3-point shooting, and that's allowed him to average 27 points, one of the best numbers in the NBA, 6 rebounds, 4.5 assists. He may end up on All-NBA first team this year. I don't think it's too shocking that he's turned into a top 5, top 10 player in the league, but I think it's a little bit more shocking how good of a shooter he's been this year. Coming here for the New York Knicks, also another team that really doesn't have anybody that was too shocking because they rely a ton on their top 5. I'm going to go with Ochai Agbaji because I do think he's been a pleasant surprise offensively this year for the Knicks. Now that Anunoby was fully healthy here in his age 27 season, it's still a little bit of inconsistency because he's not a top 2 scoring option on this team, and sometimes not a top 3 option when Mikal Bridges is getting his touches, but he's averaging a career high in scoring, 18 points per game, 5 rebounds, 48% from the field, 38% from 3, 81% from the free throw line, is still a top 10 perimeter defender in the sport in my opinion, and he's somebody that is going into year number 8. He was paid a lot of money by the Knicks in the offseason, and I think he really stepped up in that stretch when Jalen Brunson missed a bunch of games at the end of the year due to that ankle injury. So yeah, I'm going to go with OG. Not a lot of players to go here with the Brooklyn Nets, so I'm going to talk about Tyrese Martin, who was the 51st overall pick by the Warriors back in the 2022 draft, and I think he's been basically this year's Jalen Wilson. He actually did not play at all in the NBA in 2024, where he just bounced around in the G League in 2024, and this year has been a productive player for the Nets on the perimeter. At 25 years old, he shot 36% from 3, he averaged 8.5 points and 4 rebounds, and I do think has earned himself some minutes on the 2026 Nets because there have been basically like 30 different Nets that have played minutes for them this year. Gotta go with Peyton Pritchard here for the Boston Celtics. He's most likely going to win 6 Man of the Year. We've seen such an offensive leap for him in his age 27 season. Last year for the Boston Celtics, he averaged 9.5 points. It was a breakout year for him, and this year he was even better. 14 points, 46% from the field, 40% from 3 on 8 attempts a night, 84% from the free throw line, 4 rebounds, 3.5 assists, gives you good defense on the perimeter as well. Peyton Pritchard was one of the more improved players in the year 2025. Like I said, most likely he's going to win 6 Man of the Year, and if there were ever a most improved teams like an all defensive or all rookie team, he would be on it. For the Philadelphia 76ers, it's going to be a player that only appeared in 26 games for them, and that's Quentin Grimes. Yeah, the player they basically just traded Caleb Martin for in the offseason, and Quentin Grimes has been one of the best storylines for Philadelphia in the second half of the year, which has been mostly tanking basketball, but he's averaged 22.5 points, 5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, has shot 48% from the field, 39% from 3, for the Philadelphia 76ers since being traded over there. He's a restricted free agent in the offseason, and he's going to make a lot of money either by the Philadelphia 76ers or another team that throws an offer sheet at them. He's got a 35-point performance, a 46-point performance, and multiple high 20-point per game performances with the 76ers. And he's still just 24 years old. I miss him on my necks. I think Ochai Agbaji has really turned around his value this year with the Toronto Raptors. At 24 years old, he was a good wing scorer for the team up north this year. He appeared in 62 games. He averaged 10 points, 4 rebounds, and shot 39% from 3 on 4 attempts a night. He did flirt a little bit with good efficiency from downtown in his rookie year with Utah, but it did fall off a little bit in year number 2, both in Utah and in Toronto. But he's really turned his value around, like I said, in year number 3. He's making just $4.3 million this year, $6.3 million next year. The Raptors had a ton of injuries this year, and Ochai really did take advantage of that increase in playing time. Could I say the most surprising Laker is Luka Doncic, just because how is Luka Doncic a Laker? But I'm going to go with somebody that it's more so off their play, and that is Austin Reaves, who has turned into a legitimate asset for this team in 2025. I mean more so like he could be a top 3 scoring option on a championship team. We were flirted with that idea in the 2023 season when Reaves had a really solid playoff run with the LA Lakers when they went to the Western Conference Finals, but he took a little bit of a step back in 2024 for the Lakers. But this stretch he's been on over the last 20 games, and basically after they acquired Luka Doncic, has been on another level. Since the All-Star break in 24 games, Reaves is averaging 22.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 5 assists, and it has a true shooting percentage of 65%. He has developed so much with Luka Doncic as a co-star next to him, and there's going to be an era of Lakers basketball where it's Luka and Reaves running the show when LeBron eventually retires. Reaves at 26 is one of the best assets in the league. He's on one of the best contracts in the league as well, making under $15 million, and I'm excited to watch him in the playoffs yet again this year. You gotta love a year 10 breakout offensively, right? That's Norman Powell of the LA Clippers. Norman Powell this year for the LA Clippers has stepped in and replaced Paul George very nicely over there in Southern California. 22 points per game at career high, 48% from the field, 42% from 3, 80% from the free throw line. Was probably going to win most improved player this year, or at least be up there in conversations if he hit that 65 game threshold. And it's kind of crazy that Norman Powell had a better year than Paul George in 2025. Not a lot of people expected that. Shout out to second round pick, 52nd overall selection, Quinten Post, who I think was the most surprising Warrior this year. I honestly didn't know much about Quinten Post coming out of college. I watched him in person at the Combine this year and started to learn a little bit more about him. He was a 5-year player who spent time at Mississippi State and 3 years at Boston College. He did shoot 43% from 3 last year at BC, and this year he has been a top 15 rookie in the NBA. 8 points, 3.5 rebounds, and a shot 41% from 3 on 4 attempts a night. And he's getting amazing looks operating out of the pick and pop with Steph Curry because the defense has to be focused so much on Steph. Post is able to get some very good catch and shoot looks, and I think Mike Dunleavy cooked here in the second round of the 2024 NBA draft. I also didn't really know who to put for the Sacramento Kings because I don't think anybody's taken like a super big step this year. Keon Ellis, I think I expected, and a lot of people did, for him to play like this year. So I'm going to go with Jake LaRavia, who they basically picked up for nothing at the deadline and involved Colby Jones and Alex Selena. I do think LaRavia at 6'8", still just 23 years old, could be a crafty wing scorer for this team over the next few years. He averaged 6 points and a shot 38% from 3 in his 19 games as a Sacramento King. Like I said, the pool was thin to pick the most surprising King this year. I wasn't going to go with LaVine, DeRozan, Sabonis, Valanciunas, Monk. None of those guys have really impressed me a lot. So Kings fans, you can let me know. Maybe you think it's just Isaac Jones. Shout out to him this year. Next up for the Charlotte Hornets, we're going to go with Musa Diabate, who at 23 years old was one of the best backup big men this year, in my opinion, for guys that played under 20 minutes a night. Only averaged around 17 minutes a game this year for the Hornets, but is a bruiser on the glass. Averages 6 rebounds a game, 3.5 defensive rebounds, 2.5 offensive rebounds, and he was the 43rd overall pick by the Clippers back in that 2022 draft. He's somebody that's going to be making under $2.5 million throughout the next 3 years, and I do think he could slide in nicely for a center position that's kind of been banged up at times for the Charlotte Hornets going forward, especially if they move Mark Williams this offseason. Musa could definitely have a lot more playing time in 2026. One of the easiest selections questions in this video, you got to go with Dyson Daniels of the Atlanta Hawks. Real chance he's going to win most improved player this year. It shouldn't be Cade Cunningham as a #1 overall pick. But Daniels, as a 22-year-old, really broke out on both ends of the floor. We all knew, though, that he was a real solid defender coming off the bench for the Pelicans in the first 2 years of his career. But he was allowed so much more of an opportunity offensively this year. Career high in field goal attempts. He had 5 last year, 12 this year, shot basically 50% from the field, 35% from 3-on-3 attempts a night, and averaged 3 steals a game, 14 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. He's definitely the most improved player here in 2025. So he's one of the more surprising players in the league, because you can make an argument, even if DeJounte Murray played for the Pelicans, Daniels was going to be better than DeJounte, and the Hawks got some draft picks out of it as well. The Orlando Magic had a ton of injuries this year, but I do think Goga Bitadze has really turned into the best big man for this team. It could have been Mo Wagner if he didn't suffer a season-ending ACL injury, but Goga, who's basically waived by Indiana, picked up by the Orlando Magic 4 days later, has been such a good move in hindsight for this Magic frontcourt, as Goga, I think, is a real underrated defensive big man in the league. This year, he did average 7 points and 6.5 rebounds for the Magic, a career high 20 minutes a night. I think he's getting better and better, still just 25 years old, and I think is one of the more underrated centers in the NBA. Got a couple rookies here back in the Eastern Conference. We're going to talk about Collier of the Miami Heat. I recently watched my 2024 draft grades right after the night of the NBA draft, and I was intrigued on how Collier and Bam Adebayo were going to work in that front court in Miami, but I think they worked out very well in Ware's rookie season. As a 20-year-old, he averaged 9 points, 7.5 rebounds, shot 55% from the field, but encouraging 32% from 3 this year, and also averaged over a block a night in just 22 minutes per game. I just think that you can really put out Ware and Bam together, makes this pick that much more worth it, taking him 15th overall in that 2024 draft. And another rookie here for the Washington Wizards, we're going to talk about Bub Carrington, the 14th overall pick. You can even talk about Keyshawn George, who went around 10 picks later, but Bub was basically the pick they got back in the Denny of Dion trade. And while Denny was great this year for Portland, Bub showed real promise in year #1 as a 19-year-old for the Washington Wizards. Shot around 34% from 3, 40% from the field, and 80% from the free throw line. Also averaged 10 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists for a team that didn't really have the best pieces around Bub, but I think he really showed signs that he could be a good scoring combo guard in this league for years to come. And for the San Antonio Spurs, I think you're going to also go with another rookie here. It's going to be Stephon Castle, the 20-year-old who looked NBA ready right out of the gate. And maybe you'd rather go with Sandro instead, but I do think Castle was way better than anybody expected in his rookie year. 14.5 points, 3.5 rebounds, 4 assists, played great perimeter defense, great post defense, could switch on to multiple positions at 6'6". It helps he plays with Wemby, got to learn under De'Aaron Fox and Chris Paul in his rookie year. I think he's one of the best young assets in the league going forward, and he can really elevate the Spurs ceiling over the next few years. All right, last rookie here. We are on a streak here of 4 in a row. We're going to talk about the 39th overall pick in the 2024 draft, Jaylen Wells to the Memphis Grizzlies. Has to be one of their biggest surprising players this year. Could also be Scottie Pippen Jr. or Jay Huff, but what Wells has given them as a rookie with the 39th overall pick, the 2nd round pick they got back in the Steven Adams salary dump in the 2024 season, has been incredible. Now, unfortunately, Jaylen Wells did suffer a serious injury towards the end of the year. It was a really scary injury against the Charlotte Hornets. We most likely won't see him again in the 2025 season, but he averaged 10.5 points. He shot 35% from 3, 82% from the line, played really good perimeter defense for one of the best teams in the Western Conference throughout the year, and a rookie giving you starting caliber minutes and good production on both ends of the floor is a home run selection, especially in the 2nd round. I know we all could have expected a year 2 leap for Amen Thompson. I don't know about this, though, as he's turning into one of the best young assets overall in the league. I recently made a video talking about the best 25 players that are under the age of 25, and Amen Thompson came in at number 8, and he may honestly end up on an all-defensive team and an all-NBA team this year. He's 22 years old. He's one of the best defensive playmakers in the sport, probably the best athlete in the NBA right now. Averaged 14 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and if he started more games at the beginning of the year, those numbers could look even better. Shot 55% from the field, and if he could develop any type of 3-point shot over the course of his career, he could be a top 7 player in the NBA one day, top 5. I think for the Dallas Mavericks, Naji Marshall has been a nice surprise for them. They signed him with their non-taxpayer exception in the 2024 offseason. We know that they made a bunch of trades this year, but I think Marshall has been a very consistent Dallas Maverick with all the injuries they've had. He's going to play close to 70 games, 13 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 50% from the field. His nickname is the Knife on Basketball Reference, which is really interesting. But I do think Naji Marshall provides you value on the defensive end of the floor, and he's under a very nice contract going forward, where he's just making $8.5 million this year, $9 million next year, $9.5 million in 2027. Man, Nico Harrison really cooked, getting Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington at the 2024 deadline. They got Naji Marshall and Klay Thompson in the offseason, and he basically threw away his reputation in the 2025 season. So for the Phoenix Suns, I really have no idea who to go with. You could just give props to their fans this year who surprisingly put up with this team for 82 games. But if I'm going to go with a player, I'll go with the rookie Ryan Dunn, who was the 28th overall pick out of Virginia. The 6'6" wing was asked to do so much in his rookie season, coming in as somebody that was somewhat NBA ready, but did lack a shot, or at least questions about his shot going into his season. But he started 42 games. He played in over 70 this year for the Suns, and he gave 100% effort on the defensive end of the floor and was a good defender for them this year. So I think it was just a nice surprise to see Ryan Dunn play as many minutes as he did and was solid enough in those minutes. Like I said, the offense is still a major work in progress, but at least the Suns found a good defender at the end of the draft. But honestly, there's not many players you could have picked with here. Maybe Colin Gillespie, who had some nice moments on a two-way. That's pretty much about it. And lastly, we're going to talk about Trey Murphy of the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, everybody was banged up for New Orleans this year, including Trey Murphy, who played under 55 games. But I think what we saw in those 53 games where he took a leap offensively was a very nice surprise, especially after getting that massive contract extension where he's going to be making over $25 million for the next 4 years after this year. Murphy in 2025, in year number 4, averaged 21 points, 5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, shot 45% from the field, 36% from 3, 89% from the free throw line, a great step back jumper, can get to the rim, finish at the rim, and I'm sure he's going to be a top scorer on this team yet again in 2026 and for the long term, now that Brandon Ingram is no longer on the squad. So that's gonna be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, I would appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. Let me know your favorite team's most surprising player down below. Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? Let me know down below. Hit that subscribe button for more NBA content, all playoffs and off-season long. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.